You are listening to I Survived the Wild Outdoors podcast, where real outdoors men and women share their heroic tales of survival. I'm your host, Brad Mathewson, and this is their story. Non-hunters often have great difficulty understanding what would possess an otherwise normal individual to sit in a tree stand for hours on end, waiting patiently for a deer to show up. It takes determination to rise hours before most others to pursue the passion. That same passion that some call buck fever, coupled with dragging a 100 to 200 pound animal through brush and over deadfalls, hundreds of yards, often leads to elevated heart rate and in some cases, a heart attack. Nate Kenneth from Wisconsin experienced what many of us hunters only thought happened to middle-aged men who smoke and who were severely out of shape. But at only 29 years of age and in an athletic shape, Nate started experiencing all the signs of a heart attack on the way to his deer stand. Can you tell us what happened that day?
All right. So I've always known from a little kid that I was going to have heart issues as a later adult. And at the age of 2, I have an identical twin also that deals with the same issues that I do. And we knew that we were the top 2% in the world amongst kids that were under the age of 10 that had high cholesterol issues. And so I always knew in the back of my mind that it was something I was going to have to deal with. Not only as a kid, but later in life too. I was very active growing up, involved in sports, hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, boating, pretty much everything you could do outside, my family was involved in. And then later on in life, got a job, had a family, and still continued the same things and tried passing on the outdoors traditions that I was passed on. With hunting and fishing and camping and all that fun stuff. And then I turned 29 and it was a new hunting season. And in September of 2018, I was out hunting and it was just like a normal day. I had worked a night shift the night before. And so I was a little tired, but I knew the hunt was going to be good. The weather was good, and I had the afternoon to go hunt away from the kids. So I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to get out in the woods. So me and my twin went out and parked our trucks, said good luck to each other, and started making our way to our deer stands. My deer stand is maybe 500 yards away from my truck. So it's not that far away from where I park. But that day it felt like it was miles and miles away from my truck. And I was determined to get there. I started walking and I don't know what it was that day, but I had a cigar as I was walking to my deer stand. I thought for some reason it'd bring me good luck if I had a cigar as I was walking to my tree stand. And I remember I took like 2 puffs off the cigar and I had to put it out because there was something that wasn't right. Like something felt abnormal. And I get up to around a wood line that overlooked a field, and just on the other side of this wood line there was a couple deer that were in the field, and one of them was a nice buck. So of course my heart is pumping and I'm excited. And before I even get in stand, I see deer. So I'm like, well, I'm going to stalk these deer as best as I can. And this is where I really started to notice that something was not right. It was a fairly cold day. So I guess I was in like long sleeves and long pants as I was walking to my tree stand. And I start stalking these deer, and I noticed that I was really sweaty. And I noticed that it was really warm. And I remember thinking, like, this is just because I'm excited. My heart is going because I want to try to stalk these deer. And one of the things looking back on, I should have paid attention to more was just the things that were going on with my body that I was just ignoring or not paying enough attention to, and the clothing was one of them. And I'll get more into that here in a little bit, but my heart was racing, and I thought it was just because it's like every time I see a deer, and it's been that way since I started hunting, and if I lose that, I'm going to be done hunting. But just it was racing, and so I started getting down on my hands and knees and stalking these deer. And I got fairly close, so I was getting pretty excited. And this is when I just felt like I couldn't go any farther. I laid down in the grass and took off a layer of clothes. I remember thinking that I have really bad acid reflux, or so it's got to be something. I got to be tired from my shift. I drank a lot of coffee to stay awake all day, and it's nothing. If I just get to my tree stand, I'll sleep it off, or I won't have to worry about it. And at this point, I was bound and determined to get to my tree stand, and I thought that if I could just climb up into my tree stand, everything would be so much better. I ended up spooking these deer, of course, and so the heart pounding from the deer is gone. However, my heart is still pounding. And I remember that the couple 100-yard or 100-yard walk that I had the rest of the way in my tree stand was like the longest walk ever. And I'm like, something in my chest is not right. There's something going on here, whether it's acid reflux or whatnot, but something is wrong. And I finally get to my tree stand, and I sit down at the base of my tree stand and just think, like, what am I going to do? I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I feel like I just ran a marathon. My heart is racing. At this point, I'm down to, I think, one long sleeve and my long pants. And I decided to climb up into my tree stand. And I climbed up in my tree stand after staying there for a while. And I remember putting my head down on my ladder and thinking, like, what is going on? Like, why do I feel like this? If I just take a nap, maybe the acid reflux will go away. And I laid my head down, and that's when I realized, like, something is definitely wrong. It's not acid reflux. I don't know what it is, but something is definitely wrong. I need to get down and need to get back to my truck. So I climbed out of my tree stand and had to take a break at the bottom of my tree stand again because I was so out of breath. And I just, again, felt like I ran a marathon. I was sweaty and trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do. Where we hunt is about 15 minutes out of town. And so in thinking that everything was going to be fine, everything was going to be okay, I didn't even think to call first responders or anything like that because I think it's acid reflux. I think something is wrong, but I don't know what it is. So after I decided to walk back to my truck, I made the journey back that 500 yards-ish, and it took me, it felt like a decade. I couldn't tell you how long it actually took me to get back to my truck, but I remember sitting at the back of my truck and I couldn't put my stuff away. I didn't have the energy or the ability to take the stuff and put it in my truck. So I left everything at the back of my truck, and I sat at my tire and contemplated, like, what am I going to do? Like, I just ruined my hunt. I can't get back out in the woods. I don't want to ruin my brother's hunt by, calling him and letting him know that something's wrong. But I decided to send him a text message and say, I can't breathe and I need to go home. So I jumped in my truck and I started driving out the driveway, and my twin said he knew exactly what was going on. And I remember looking in the rearview mirror and seeing him sprinting out of the woods. And I called my wife on the phone and said, I need you to stay on the phone with me because I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong. So I have really shoddy reception between where I hunt and my house. And so there were a couple points where I wasn't able to hear what she was saying, and I don't think she was able to hear what I was saying. And all I could really keep saying was, I don't know what's wrong, but I need you to stay on the phone with me in case I crash.
Yeah.
And I get back home, and she had already made arrangements with my sister-in-law to come and watch my kids. And she had the car ready so that she could take me to the hospital. Where I live is like a half mile away from the hospital, which I'm really grateful for, because later in the story I learned a little bit about if I would have been farther. So she gets me in the car and drives me to the hospital. I get to the hospital, and I was not able to walk from where she parked to the front entrance of the hospital. And I remember sitting in the parking lot just thinking, like, this is it. I literally can't move. I am stuck here in the parking lot, and my wife is stuck here with me. Like, she can't pick me up and walk me in there. So she ended up helping carry me into the ER, and I just remember telling the nurse that my chest is hurting really bad, and I have a history of heart attacks in my family. So we sat in the waiting room, and in my profession, I come into contact with the medical world quite a bit, and I knew the doctor that was on that day. And he comes in and says, "Hey, I'm aware of your family history, and you have chest pains, so we're going to take this very seriously. We're going to do some blood work, and then I'll come back and let you know what's going on." So he takes the blood work, and I don't know why this is funny now, but my kids had painted my toenails like a couple days before this. And I remember them taking off my sock and me having to explain to them, like, "Hey, it's cool. Like, my kids painted that. It was super cool. It was super awesome. They loved it. It was great." But I still remember laying in the hospital and them taking off my sock and looking at that. And where this gets important is because just after that, the doctor comes in and he said, "Hey, Nate, I'm letting you know that you are currently having a heart attack. And you're going to hear your name on the loudspeaker, and there's going to be about 40 people that come into this room very quickly."
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't remember a whole lot more after that as far as in the hospital portion of it. I think from time I was in the hospital to time I was in the recovery room was like 45 minutes. But I just remember, like, it was just mad chaos. They're shoving pills down my throat. Like, "Here, you need to take this," and then they would hand me another pill, and "Here, you need to take this, and here, you need to take this, and we're going to get you to the operating room here very quickly." So they wheel me away, and I remember going into the OR, and beyond that, I don't recall a whole lot, but I remember waking up to a nurse holding pressure on my incision. And didn't really hit me yet. I was my typical joking self and kind of laughed it off. And where it got really hard was when I got out of the operating room into recovery and my kids came in with my wife. Because the doctor had explained to me that I was 100% blocked in my Widowmaker, and that I was really lucky to be alive. Because typically when people have that same experience, they don't make it out. So when I saw my kids, it was one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, and it's changed my perspective on life significantly, because that was extremely difficult to discuss with my kids why I was in there and what was going on. Sorry.
That's all right. You're doing good.
So I spent, I think, 2 days in the hospital, and it was kind of an interesting experience for me and my wife. I had coworkers there pretty much the entire time. I had the mayor there at one point, and my boss, and family and friends showing up throughout the whole thing, and it was a lot. But just they were doing heart scans and checking my heart, and it was a very interesting experience. Let's put it that way. And then after we got out of the hospital, it was a couple of days off of work. I think it was a week off of work, and went back to work. And I was always in shape and struggled with, like, if I didn't go for a run, it was a bad day. And so it was kind of difficult to not do anything. But when I got back to work that very first day, something ended up happening, and I remember my heart was racing. And one second. All I could think about was how, here we go again. We're going to have another problem. Yes. And luckily I didn't. But in the course of this experience, that I always knew that I was going to have issues with my heart. My whole family, or all the males on my dad's side, has had issues with their heart. But in this experience that I had, I found out that I still have 3 arteries that are over 75% blocked, and that they couldn't do anything at this point because damage would be worse if they did something. So I was told, you're going to have another heart attack. It's just a matter of when. And so If we can work to prolong it, that's what our goal is. Yep. I have to throw this out there because it's very important to me, is that I remember when I was a kid, it was try every medication we can to see if we can bring our levels down. Just after I had my heart attack, they checked my levels, and there was a new drug that was put out that I was in a experimental group for called Repatha, and it ended up dropping to over 200 points. So I, for the first time in my life, have been under 100 after I just had a heart attack. So there was some good news out of the whole thing, of that there's something that's working, and there's something that can be done. That I kind of had taken the philosophy in life that I'm kind of doomed. I know I'm going to have a heart attack. I know I'm going to die of a heart attack. I know I'm going to die early. So it is what it is. And it gave me hope that that is the wrong philosophy, that I need to live every day, and that that there are options out there, and that I need to try to go. And like I said, seeing my kids really instilled that, like, you got to keep pushing on for them.
Yeah.
So I've hunted for several years after that, whether it's turkey hunting or deer hunting and fishing and hunting, and I still get the heart pumping. And I got to be honest with you, it's always in the back of my mind of, like, what happens if it happens to me again today? But I will say that one of the biggest things I want to mention is that if you're going out hunting, or if you're doing anything, paying attention to the signs. Don't be in denial, and recognize what it is. Whether it's pain down your arms, pain down your back, sweating, high heart rate. The other thing I didn't pay attention to, which I should have, is I had an Apple Watch on at the time, and it was through the roof. And I don't know why my Apple Watch wasn't screaming at me at that point, but my heart rate was over 200, and I just didn't even give it a thought to look.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a lesson learned too. So now I make sure that every time I go hunting, I have an Apple Watch. I'm still afraid to go smoke a cigar when I'm hunting. That's we got to limit that anyway, so that's not all bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is because if I can help somebody recognize those signs prior to having the same experience, or having to contemplate whether they can drive themselves to the hospital or not, the better off they'd be. They can just recognize those signs and take action on it right away.
So I got kind of and there might be some other people wondering this, but you said you had a twin brother.
Yep.
did and I've heard this different things, like when something happens to one twin, the other twin like knows. Did your brother have a premonition, a feeling of something was wrong?
I'm not sure if he had a premonition, but I can tell you that he knew I was having a heart attack. Um, I should have stopped and let him drive me. I mean, the right thing would have been to
Oh, you
stop in the
drove the
woods and
way
let
instead of him? Wow.
I drove the whole way. Yeah. And that's why I had my wife on the phone of like, hey, can you make sure I stay on the phone because I don't know what's going on. Luckily, I'm glad I was hunting with my brother that day though, because he got in his truck right away and drove to my house to help watch the kids, and then kind of help facilitate with the rest of the family what was going on. So I'm glad he came with that day. And as much as having a heart attack sucks in the woods, I've learned a lot from this incident, and I can tell you that it has definitely changed my perspective on life and gave me a greater appreciation that if I can have a heart attack at 29, like you never know when your life could come to an end. So enjoy it while you can. But going back to your question, I don't know if he had a premonition or not, but he definitely knew something was going on because I literally saw him sprinting out of the woods after one text message that says, I can't breathe. I'm going home.
So are there any restrictions that you have now from the doctors at all as far as hunting, or are they just...
I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't have any restrictions whatsoever.
Okay.
My cholesterol is controlled. I still have the issues of high cholesterol and the blockage in my heart, but my cholesterol numbers are significantly lower. So the theory is that if I control those numbers, it prolongs the next heart attack.
Okay. Yeah, you hear every year, these horror stories of guys going out in the woods, and it's typically, what in the back of your mind you're thinking, 50-something, 60-something-year-old overweight guy who is a heavy smoker, out of shape, gets excited, sees a deer or is dragging a deer and has a heart attack, and most of the time doesn't make it. The last thing in your mind is a 29-year-old in shape.
Right.
You just don't think of that.
Right. And to be honest with you, that's why I was in denial of, no, there's no way. He's a college wrestler. Like I still run. Like I can run a 5K right now and not have a problem. I played in a softball tournament the weekend before. Like, no, there's no way. And I ignored everything that my body was telling me.
Yeah, if it's one thing people can take away from this is look at the signs. Look at the signs. No matter how good a shape you're in, how good you eat, even if you don't smoke, don't drink.
Yep.
If your body's telling you something's happening, something's going wrong, listen to it.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing with that too is make sure that you're getting your checkups, making sure that you're getting your cholesterol checked, getting your calcium score, for example. Like there's tests out there that can help prevent it, and the earlier you catch it, the more there's more technology out there today that can help prevent something from happening while you're in the woods.
For sure. Was there any bit of advice that you haven't given yet that you'd want to impart on people?
I think there's kind of two things that really mean a lot to me, and I've mentioned one of them, and I want to stress it again, is that make sure you're paying attention to the signs and do your diligence to go to the doctor, get things checked out. If you have a concern, you're having shortness of breath, if you're walking upstairs and you're having shortness of breath, get it checked out. Like, don't be afraid to go talk to a doctor and say, hey, these are the issues I've been having, because technology is out there. Doctors have a lot of knowledge and they have the ability to help you. And then two, don't take life for granted. Like I said, at 29, I never figured that I would even have to face telling my family that I'm lucky to be here and that I'm lucky to be alive. So just make sure that you live every day for every day and you enjoy it when you can, because there's times that we don't get those back.
That's good advice for sure. Well, thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
Every deer season, news reports include the number of licenses sold, the number of deer harvested, and how many hunters died from heart attacks. Most of the hunters who die each year from heart attacks didn't even know they had heart disease. The exertion of hunting causes an increased heart rate, and a piece of plaque breaks off a blood vessel, or a clot forms in the bloodstream and travels to a narrow part of an artery in the heart. This blockage cuts off the blood supply to the heart, killing the heart muscle, resulting in a heart attack. In some studies, they have found 1/3 of hunters are at risk for having a heart attack. Here are some of the warning signs. An uncomfortable pressure, fullness, squeezing, or a pain in the center of your chest for more than 10 minutes. Chest pain that spreads to the shoulders, neck or arms, dizziness, fainting, sweating, nausea, and shortness of breath. Do not ignore any of these warning signs. If you have any of these signs, act immediately and call 911. We as men often ignore when we aren't feeling okay, and that stubborn attitude, along with most men's need to always be tough and never show that we are hurt, is the biggest factor in why so many men die in the woods each fall. Please, men, get checked out by your doctor each year before the hunting season starts. If not for yourself, do it for your wives and your kids' sake. And remember to stay safe out there and enjoy all that Mother Nature has to offer. If you like what you heard today, click the subscribe button to hear more upcoming stories. If you or someone you know have a survival story you'd like to share, contact me at isurvivethewild@gmail.com.